Oh! A stone wall! That's a big mofo. Get out of here now. You hear me? Get. Chapter 2. Demons. I made a long walk to the prison. Can't believe this been my daily walk to work for so many years. My legs ain't what they used to be. So is this like the prison for the little colony here? Or it's like an actual government prison? Hey, Billy, it's your old friend Godfrey. I ain't reporting for work, so don't get no ideas, you hear? Open up quick. I gotta tell you about the town and how everyone's missing. Just as I suspicion, ain't no sign of him. Well, Billy's always been a lazy slouch, so maybe he's off napping somewhere. I've been a janitor in this prison for many years, and Billy was always talking my ear off with all the gossip in the world. He talked so darn much that he even told me some of the prisoners about the big day tomorrow, and now they excited as if... Uh-oh. Oh my good lord, I ain't seen a single person all day, but it sounds like that damn dog Stonewall's alive and well. I hope to gracious he ain't coming with us tomorrow. Sounds like they already went, dude. I hate all the guard dogs here, but none is worse or more vicious than that blasted Stonewall. Rumor is that he was brought in from Cuba. He was confined as a pup and daily starved, given a snack only when he chased a black person. He was beaten so often that his skin has thickened. Now he goes rabid just the sight of a black man, many of whom he's maimed and eaten. Oh. Well, he's become so violent that they almost never make the muzzle off him, or he'd even bite the warden. Say take the muzzle off or make it, I don't know. It was my bad luck one day that I was cleaning near the kennel area and Billy had forgot to put the muzzle back on him. Well, that goddamn Stonewall bit through a chunk of my left leg and I ain't been able to walk right since. There's always 2 guards up on that there tower. Ain't no signs of 'em neither. Billy told me that those guards killed Abe some weeks ago when he was trying to escape. He was older than 80 and would have known he'd get a shot. Maybe that was his purpose. Boy, this place just getting shabbier and crummier since they fired me. Billy tells me that I was the best janitor this place ever had, but now it's all falling apart. Why just don't look at all this decay everywhere? I remember this. They took on the day they did work on Professor's head. Judge Ravenel showed up to see it in person. Strange thing to celebrate. To the Honorable Father Glorious, I had written to you earlier as to the purpose leasing of more convicts. As you are aware, our company has been leasing convicts from Cartwright Prison and have been paying our fair dollar value for them, not to mention my personal donations to the temple. However, our request for 300 more convicts has not been met, and we are in dire need of more blacks. Of the 400 we originally leased, more than half have perished, and work on the railroad has drastically slowed. Our shareholders are not happy. I beg that you pardon my bluntness, but for the last time, please send us more blacks, or we shall look elsewhere. Yours respectively, J. L. Smith, Chairman, Montgomery South Railroad Corp. Well, jeez. Damn. Rough life for the blacks back then. Let me talk to Warden Henry and see what he figures. Most of the town folks say that Warden Henry ain't a bad person, but I disagree. Even when he was a plantation owner, he was well known across the country about how brutally he treated his slaves. Dick. Warden Henry was then a colonel during the Civil War. I believe that further hardened him into who he is today. No black prisoner so much as move when they hear Warden Henry's coming through. Another letter. Dear Henry, it has been brought to my attention that Alabama State Senator Robert Barnes is forming a special commission to investigate claims of abuse at the prison. I'm convinced it was leaked by the detestable smart Alec from Ohio. So see to it that he gets what is deserving. Control the deaths and torture in the prison for the days, or for heaven's sake, or for some days, or for heaven's sake, have the whole facility cleaned. The English language does not have the sufficient words to express the uttermost stench in the prison. Clean up the vile prisoners and make them at least presentable before the commission comes. I am pressing some legislatures and even Avery to put an end to this dastardly commission. Therefore, till I hear from them, I remain, yours most truly, Judge Thomas Ravenel. Despicable. This office is mighty comfortable compared to the rest of the rundown prison. I sit here sometimes while cleaning off, if the warden weren't around, away from all the chaos and cruelty of the cells. Another letter. My dearest friend Avery, I pray this letter finds you in the best of health. I have not been regular at the temple these last few weeks, but it is only because I have been busy sentencing so many new convicts for our mutual benefit. I endeavor to bring to your attention the bothersome Senator Barnes and the commission he is forming to audit the prison. We must quell this commission through protest, but by the townspeople. I propose that you heat up the town against the blacks. Perhaps a rape accusation followed by a ritual that will get the town into a frenzy. Tell the town that Barnes and the commission want to set all these black rapists and murderers free onto their women and children. P.S. Young Mary has turned 14 and is quite the beauty. I shall be most glad if you arrange a tryst between us during the next ceremony. Always your true companion, Thomas Ravenel. This is some disgusting, horrible stuff that probably, definitely really happened, I'm sure. There's a growing fear in me that it's already happened, because Billy and the warden ain't here neither. What'll become of old me if everyone's already gone? Probably get as far away from this place as you can, bro. The black prisoners gots to be in their cells, because Father Gloria said many a times it'd only be us white folks up there. Let me check the cell blocks. The cell block feels dead and hollow, just like everything else today. I always hear cries, groans, and screams here, so the silence feels spooky and depressing. So the silence is depressing, but not the screams. Okay. Oh, man. It's sweltering hot. I'm dried up, thirsty. I'll sit here after I figure out what's going on. I didn't enjoy cleaning these toilets one bit. They'd be overflowing with filth and the smell was putrid. But I did it dutifully because I'm a good janitor. There's usually around 20 convicts cramped in this here cell, sweating in the scorching humidity. One of the prisoners, Titus, was kept here and was always friendly to me. He used to be a slave and didn't have no place to go once he was freed after the war. One day he was sitting under a tree minding his own business and the sheriff arrested him for vagrancy. Terrible. Judge Ravenel sentenced Titus to 5 years for that. He was leased out to a plantation a few months after, where he and 10 other convicts was told to clear a swamp down in Jackson County. Right, I can't find the place to click again. Nope. I heard that they was chained for days in that knee-deep pool of muck. Many got malaria from the mosquitoes and ticks constantly eating away at them. The Alabama sun got Titus, and those so thirsty they was drinking the same filthy swamp water that they'd been standing and was wasting in for days. Most of them died from the sickness, but Titus made it out. Well, he was sent back here just a couple of weeks later because the plantation owner's missus said the following behind her one evening. That's said he followed behind her one evening that spoke to her and she complained to her husband. Titus told me he was just wanting to ask her for some water and didn't know what he'd done wrong. A few days after Titus was back, Father Glorious told all of us at a sermon that a young black man had dared touch and rape a white woman and that he'd been brought to divine justice. They held a ritual and Titus was invited, but I didn't go because I promised Miss Wilson I wouldn't. I never saw him after that. He was no older than 15. It's terrible. Where the hell am I at? What was that? Whenever I'm in this cell, it makes me heart sick and blue. There was a prisoner here and he became a friend of mine. His name was Isaac, but everyone called him Professor. Weren't even from the South. He was a newspaper writer all the way from Ohio. He was the only schooled black man I ever did see. Well, he'd come down to the South to write about how things was going 10 years after the Civil War ended. The judge didn't like him snooping around our town. Most respected Senator Barnes, I take the liberty of describing to you the deplorable conditions as I have witnessed of the prisoners at Cartwright Prison in Needle, Alabama. Convicts are brutally tortured and tormented on a daily basis. They are then leased out to corporations for profit in the form of legal slavery. Work conditions at these companies are deplorable, and many convicts are affected by exhaustion, malaria, dysentery, and gunshot wounds. Nearly no leased convicts ever makes it back alive to prison. Senator, I urge you and your fellow Alabama legislature to probe the disgraceful exploitation that is taking place at this prison. Judges, sheriffs, and the police are all part of the racket. You will likely not receive more letters from me, since I fear I will be leased out soon too, or worse. Yours faithfully, Isaac Jones. So the letter never made it out? Fessa was accused of stealing a chicken and sent here by Judge Ravenel for 10 years on the account of grand theft. I never quite figured why a well-to-do man would steal a chicken, but it was his words against the white farmers. Over time, he got to telling other prisoners about how things was in Ohio, starting filling their heads about mumbo-jumbo like freedom and rights for blacks. Well, Billy ran his big mouth off to the warden about this, even though I told Professor to stay quiet about such ideas. The next day, all the prisoners was brought to the area, and the guards dragged Professor out of his cell. Judge Ravenel even came and was given a nice seat. All the rest of us had to stay and watch. Professor was tied down to this here chair. A doctor was brought in and said he'd do some sort of experiment by hooking up some big wires on Professor's head. Doc pulled down a lever and sent electricity through him. I've worked here a long time, but I never heard such cries of pain and agony like I did that day. I remember the foul stink of burning human flesh in the air. Professor was never the same. His jumbled words didn't make no sense. He'd just gaze into the distance with drool running down his mouth. That's what happened to blacks that think too much around here, is what the warden warned others. I found his dead body in the cell a few days after that. Jeez. Like, so far, this is like a horror game in a different type of way. Like, you know how like the worst type of like scary shit's like scary shit that like can really happen? That's what this is like, man. Jeez. These sad memories is making me miserable. I just want to be at a sermon at the temple where the Father Glorious always gives us hope. I used to like sitting on this ledge during my work day to rest. The breeze. Mercy sakes, Stonewall's barking and it sounds nearby. I think he's in this cell block. I'm terrified to death of that damn devil. Let's get the hell out of here. Can we run? I still remember the pain his fangs pierced into my leg all the way to the bone. 3 men had to pull him off, but it ripped the meat from my leg. I've cleaned up the mess many a time after they used Stonewall on the prisoners. One time the body was barely joined to the head because he'd eaten clean through the neck. Took me all day to clean that mess of blood in the cell block. All the terrible memories of Stonewalls is flooding back to me. 5 prisoners was once planning to escape, and the warden rounded them all up and stripped them naked. They chain their hands up and let Stonewall and a couple other dogs gorge themselves. They'll be puking blacks today. I think, said the warden. I can hear footsteps getting closer. I'm gonna hide one of these cells. Ray, I missed what it said. Did it catch me? See me? I don't know. Do we just wait? Oh! It's Stonewall! That's a big mofo. Get out of here now. You hear me? Get. I can't hide in here all day. He'll smell me out. He's tasting my blood. I know he won't go for just my leg today. I'm dead afraid to leave this cell right now. Sounds like he's going off to the other end of the prison, so I'll head this other way. I got to stay on my toes, 'cause he could be lurking in the shadows. Looks like some old prisoners got to scribbling tomorrow's date in the prison. Billy probably never told them that they gonna be left behind during the apocalypse. Father Glorious always says, only you, the true believers, shall ascend to the heavens. Boy, I get downright giddy just thinking about the promised land that Father has told us of, where the cream and honey flows in streams, where the ripest of fruits hang on every tree, where it's only us believers in the green hills and meadows. Yes, many a town folk got doubts about Father, especially that George Grady, but I still dream of a day when the angels fly us to the heavens. Somebody really ought to talk sense into George. Why, the other day, many of the townsfolk was saying they gonna need lots of help against the temple guards. And dog my cats, George said the craziest thing I ever heard in all my born days. That the town ought to free all the black prisoners so they can help take down the temple guards. He's gone plumb crazy. What exactly does he figure he gonna do? That he just gonna march into the prison and open up all the cells? Okay, now it's raining. I guess George thinks it's gonna be a simple walk in the park. He probably thinks he easily gonna come down this here wall. And supposing he hides among the trees in these here burrows so the guards don't see him. And suppose he's somehow gonna climb up this wall and get in through this here window. And once George gets in, I suppose he's going to open up the cells to free the black prisoners and convince him to march with him to the temple. He really believes I'm going to give him the extra set of keys that I still got. What Does he suspect that the prison guards and the dogs will be asleep? They gonna welcome him with open arms? Don't he know that the prison guards will be shooting and firing at every last one of them? It'd be a bloody massacre. If all the convicts ever did get out, I can only imagine what they'd do to the prison guards. Maybe a group of them would even go after Stonewall for all the terror he done. Hell, at the end of it, you'd probably find George Grady's body among all the dead, riddled with bullets, even if the prisoners did get out. No. All this can't happen. Someone better talk some smarts into that boy, George, for heaven's sake. I'll have a word with him if I can find him. That is. I'll find my way out of the prison now. Ain't nobody here except Stonewall. No one would even hear my wails for help if he attacks me. There was a rat. Still sends chills down my spine when I come near this cell, 'cause that's where they used to keep Moses. I feel like spirits wander and haunt this area. He used to be a slave and had told others on the plantation about how his ancestors used to do some kind of witchcraft or voodoo many years ago, but he didn't believe in that gibberish himself. The plantation Moses was at had almost 100 pigs, but they all got swine fever once. The 6 hogs would just lie down all day and huddle together in a pile, most of them vomiting with high fevers and diarrhea. A few weeks later, their back legs stopped working and all the hogs on the plantation died of illness. The plantation owner got to hearing these rumors about Moses' witch ancestors and accused him of putting an evil spell on the pigs and on his farm. Judge Ravenel sentenced him for witchcraft. Gosh. Moses was sent here, although he didn't know nothing about himself, about no witchcraft. That was only his ancestors. A few months after he was here, many of prisoners got sick with cholera. Again, people started blaming Moses for the sickness, although he'd also gotten sick and almost died. Many prisoners died from the disease. I hated cleaning up the cells after the piles of dead bodies was exposed because I didn't want to get no nasty sickness. Praise the glorious Father that I didn't get sick during that time. The warden decided it was best to lynch Moses because he didn't want him pulling no witchcraft at a convict camp elsewhere. Father Glorious agreed, and it was settled to have a lynching in the town for the whole public's viewing. Despicable. It's a good story, though. I mean, terrible story, but good to keep you interested. Moses was none too pleased. Said he'd done nothing to nobody. When they was trying to tying the noose around his neck, he said he'd cursed the prison and the whole town of Needle, and that his ancestors' evil spirits would forever haunt him. It's kind of funny, though, actually, they did that. I was there when they hung him, since it's my job to clean up afterward. The branch they was hanging him on broke during the lynching, and he fell from the height, which broke both of his legs. They dragged his broken body back to a different tree and hung him again. This time it worked. The townsfolk gave an applause, and I especially remember the beaming smile on Father Jim's face. The memory of his hanging body with his eyes bulging out haunts me every day. I always fear that his curse has put demons and wicked spirits on this person in town. Everything's gone straight to hell, and 3 shakes a sheep tail, as the saying goes. Never heard that saying. Must be a southern thing, huh? His curse that this town would suffer has probably come true. Goodness gracious sakes, it's gotta go to the temple, and I gotta go to the temple and tell Father Glorious about all this. He alone can save us. That's what he always says at the sermon.